Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we pull apart fascinating topics to really understand what makes them tick. Today, we're stepping into the world of lightweight, packable footwear. It's a concept that's really appealing for travelers, obviously, but also for city life, maybe. And definitely for anyone curious about that barefoot feel, but, still wants some protection.
Exactly. I mean, we've all dealt with bulky shoes or boots, right? They can be such a pain. So the idea of something that gives you good protection, you can just stuff it in a bag, well, that's instantly interesting.
Which leads us nicely to today's focus, the Pokeboo Packable Boots from pokeboo.uk. We've gone through their website, looked at product info, lots of customer reviews, and even some of their blog posts.
Yeah, and our ambition today is really just to dig into what makes these boots different. We want to explore the convenience, the comfort, basically what the company says and what the actual users experience.
Okay, so beyond just, hey, boots you can pack, let's get into the story. What's the origin, the design thinking behind Pokeboo? Turns out it's actually rooted in Japanese tradition.
Yeah, this is fascinating. They're apparently based on traditional Japanese rice planting boots, which immediately tells you something about practicality, right?
Yeah.
Designed for work, for function first. The website talks a lot about a minimalist design, and that fits perfectly with that origin. Minimalism in shoes usually means, less structure, more flexibility, maybe a wider space for your toes.
Well, natural foot movement.
Exactly.
And that minimalism, that leads directly to the flat, thin sole they highlight.
It does. The goal, they say, is a barefoot, feel-the-ground experience, which is quite different from your standard chunky Wellington boot.
A world away, probably.
Absolutely. It's about letting your feet sort of sense the terrain, move more naturally. And it's not just talk. They actually won a Good Design Award.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which suggests it's a pretty thoughtful, deliberate design, not just an accident.
Okay, so there's real design recognition there, not just pure utility. Let's get down to the specifics then. The key features, the benefits Pokeboo talks about: lightweight, flexible, packable. These words pop up everywhere.
They really do. And it seems justified. Those are the core ideas. They even include a carry bag, which kind of underlines the whole portability thing.
Right.
And importantly, they're water resistant, which you definitely expect or hope for in a boot like this.
They also mention a zero-drop sole. Now, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, what does that actually mean? Why is it a feature?
Right. Okay. So zero drop basically means your heel and the front of your foot are at the same height. There's no raised heel. It's like, well, how your foot sits naturally when you're barefoot.
Okay.
And the idea is it encourages a more natural way of walking, potentially engaging different muscles than shoes with heels. They do mention reinforcement at the heels, though.
So it's not completely unstructured.
Exactly. It gives a bit of stability right where you might need it, but without compromising that overall minimal, flexible feel. It's targeted structure.
Interesting balance. And they specifically mention use in cities and urban areas. They seem keen to position them as versatile, not just for, say, hardcore hiking.
Yeah, definitely. They list things like urban trekking, camping, fishing, gardening, picnics, and open-air festivals. And even just as a backup around town.
Backup around town, I like that.
It really paints a picture of everyday usefulness, doesn't it? Not just for big adventures. Think unexpected rain showers, muddy parks, music festivals, situations where you suddenly need dry feet but didn't want to lug heavy boots around all day.
And that packability is obviously key to that. They compare the packed size to a compact travel umbrella.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. It gives you a really clear mental image.
You can easily see just slipping them into a backpack, right? Or even a larger handbag or tote.
Definitely. That small size is what makes them so practical, is that just-in-case item. Certain downpour, wet grass at a campsite. Having that protection easily available without the usual bulk, that's a huge plus.
Okay, so the company paints a really compelling picture with the features. But, the proof is in the pudding. What do actual users say? Let's dive into those customer reviews. Comfort seems to come up a lot, and positively.
It really does. We saw multiple people calling them the most comfortable rubber boots they've ever owned.
Yeah.
One even said they're in a different league in comfort compared to traditional wellies.
Wow, different league is strong praise for rubber boots.
It really is. Usually comfort isn't the first word that springs to mind with wellies.
And what about that barefoot feel? Does that resonate with people who are maybe already into barefoot shoes?
Apparently so. One reviewer, who seems familiar with barefoot styles, specifically noted no transition was needed.
Okay. So it suggests they've really nailed that flexible ground feel aspect.
It seems like it, yeah. It connects with that crowd, but in a waterproof format, which is often a gap in the market.
And the core promises, lightweight, packable, are those echoed in the reviews?
Oh, consistently. Lots of comments about them being easy to wear and pack and perfect for travel.
Yeah.
So yeah, those main design goals, they seem to be really hitting the mark with users. The convenience factor is huge.
Someone described the flexibility really vividly, like rubber socks that crease with every movement.
Yeah, I like that one. It gives you a real sense of how pliable they are, not restrictive like some boots. Allows for that natural foot movement.
And good to see a positive mention of customer service, too. Someone had an easy size exchange.
Absolutely. Good service, especially when fixing a problem, can really build loyalty. It shows the company stands behind the product.
Okay, but it's usually not all perfect. Were there any potential downsides or areas where people had issues? Sizing, maybe?
Yes, sizing did come up a few times as being a bit tricky for some. One person suggested sizing up, especially if you're used to barefoot shoes that often have a very wide toe box.
Right, the fit might feel different.
And another just found the sizing unusual and needed a bigger size than normal.
So definitely check the sizing guide on their website first. That seems crucial.
Absolutely essential, I'd say, based on that feedback.
Okay, so sizing needs care. What about durability? Lightweight stuff can sometimes feel less robust.
That's always the trade-off, isn't it? There wasn't a huge amount of long-term feedback in the reviews we saw, but one person did suggest they should last well if you walk correctly and without drag.
Without drag. So maybe mindful walking, not scuffing along.
That's how I read it, too. They're flexible, maybe not built for really heavy, abrasive use day in, day out, more for specific conditions or careful wear.
Fair enough. Interestingly, aesthetics also got mentioned positively.
Yeah, someone said they looked seriously good and much better looking on than most style of wellies.
Which is quite a feat, blending that function with decent style.
It really is. Often function trumps form, or vice versa. Getting positive comments on looks suggests they found a nice balance, making them easier to wear in more situations.
And crucially, do they keep feet dry?
Seems so. One reviewer specifically tested them walking in a stream.
Oh, good.
And confirmed they were waterproof. So, fundamental job done.
Excellent. Any mention of grip? Thin soles can sometimes be slippery.
Yes, one user mentioned the tread provides stability and grip.
Okay.
So while the sole is thin, the tread pattern itself seems designed to offer decent traction.
And there was a lovely comment from an older user, right?
Yes. Someone who's apparently worn boots for 62 years finally found a pair that fit their wider feet comfortably.
That's great. It suggests the design might work well for people who often struggle with finding boots that fit properly.
Yeah, a really nice specific piece of feedback.
And finally, that comparison to Vibram 5 Fingers.
Right. Someone appreciated the Pokeboo flexibility, kind of like 5 Fingers, but noted that Pokeboo gives you that flexibility in a proper rain boot form.
Filling a specific niche, then.
Exactly. It positions them nicely within that whole flexible, minimalist footwear world, but with a clear, unique advantage. Waterproofness.
Okay, great insights from the users. Let's quickly cover the practicals. What colors can you get? Any different versions?
Sure. The colors listed are yellow 2025, black noir, charcoal, royal blue, and khaki. So a few options there. And they do specifically mention new Pokeboo tread boots as a distinct line.
Tread boots. Okay, and is there a price difference?
Seems so. The tread ones are listed around £84.99, often on sale for £79.99. The other standard packable ones, charcoal, black, royal blue, khaki, are generally around £79.99, sometimes on sale closer to £73.99 or so.
Right, so maybe the tread version has, well, a different tread or slightly tougher construction.
That would be the logical assumption, yeah. Suggests maybe a bit more robustness or grip, perhaps, for a slight price increase.
Makes sense. Now, what about their blog? Any useful nuggets in there?
Yeah, a few interesting posts. The latest one, from today, May 13th, basically just reinforces that core message. Japanese craftsmanship meets modern minimalism for light, portable, waterproof boots.
Okay, keeping the message consistent.
Exactly. And then one from February 8th highlighted the lightweight and stylish side again, positioning them for all sorts of adventures, city or country.
Reinforcing that versatility theme we talked about.
Precisely. And way back on January 4th, there was a post that actually tried to clarify different terms for wet weather footwear, essentially placing Pokeboo as a smart, stylish solution within that whole category. They're actively defining their space.
Got it. So they're using the blog to communicate their unique selling points. Makes sense. And just wrapping up with the last few practical points for potential buyers, international shipping is an option.
Yes, they do ship internationally. And within the UK, delivery is free.
Good to know. And definitely check out the sizing guide and care info sections on the site.
Yeah, given the comments on sizing, that seems like a must-do before ordering.
And payment methods look pretty comprehensive. Lots of options.
Yeah, all the major cards, Amex, Visa, MasterCard Plus, Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal. It looks like they cover pretty much all the common ways to pay online. Very flexible.
All right. So let's try and summarize this deep dive. We've looked at the design roots, the features, what users think, the product details. What's the overall picture of these Pokeboo Boots?
I think the picture's pretty clear and honestly quite compelling. You've got this undeniable practicality, super packable, very lightweight, combined with a design that really focuses on comfort and that near barefoot ground feel. The Japanese inspiration isn't just marketing fluff. It seems to genuinely inform the minimalist functional design. And the customer reviews largely back this up, especially on comfort and packability being standout features.
So it really feels like a product born from an interesting mix of tradition and very modern needs, portability, comfort, versatility. Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to maybe chew on. When you see how Pokeboo took a traditional concept, stripped it down, focused on portability and modern needs, and created something functional and desirable, well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday items out there could benefit from that same kind of thinking? Where else could we apply this focus on minimalism, portability, and function without losing the core purpose or, importantly, the comfort?
That's a good question. Lots of possibilities, I imagine.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.